All right, lesson 2.6, people. Stem and leaf plots. I'll tell you this. In real life, I cannot remember any time in my life that I've ever seen a stem and leaf plot other than in math class. So it's not like this is commonly used. Does that make sense? This is not commonly used. I'm going to show you how to do it because it's really good for you to just be able to recognize and understand how it works. I want your brain to be able to follow this and for you to be able to follow and understand what's happening. But this is not a life skill that you're going to desperately need once you leave academia. So, stem and leaf plots. A stem and leaf plot has to have a key. You need to know what is being shown. It's pretty simple. A stem and leaf plot looks a lot like this. That's the outline of it. Up here, we'll describe what we're talking about. We'll call this temperature. If I was to go around the room and actually take your temperature with a thermometer, stick that thing in your ear and take your temperature. What do you guys know what is normal? What is considered normal temperature? You know what it is? It's 98.6. 98.6 is the normal temperature. Now, my temperature runs at right around 97.9. When I go to the doctor, I'm almost always 97.9, maybe 98.0. My wife's runs at around 98.8. Some people's run around at 97.5. I mean, everybody has a slightly different temperature that your body just is normally running at. Anyway, if we have our data over here and I was to take your temperature, some of you might be 98.6, 98.8, 97.9, 98.0, 98.6, and 97.4. That I could easily go around the room and get that information from you, and we would have it. This is what a stem and leaf plot does. You have the stem, which is the common part of everybody's information. Hurry up. Be done. I'll wait. The stem is the common part of what everybody has. In this situation, it would either be, it would be 97 and 98. Everybody's temperature, at least the ones that I took, was a 97 or a 98. That's the stem. The leaf is the parts that are different. For example, this first one, 98.6, I would put a 6 here. And that 6 represents 98.6. The next one, 98.8, I would put an 8 here. The next one, I would put a 9 here. The next one, I would put a 0 here. Then another 6, and then a 4. What does this represent? What does that 4 represent? No, but what does it actually mean? That 4 actually has a meaning. 97.4. It's somebody's temperature that was 97.4. How do you know it was 97.4? Well, it's in the stem of 97, and this 4 is 0.4. Here's the deal. I have to write a key down here. I would say key. 98.6 equals 98 with a big line and a 6. That right there is the key. That tells you what this stem and leaf plot means. Does that make sense? Is it possible that what if we weren't talking about temperatures and I was talking about number of feet that somebody could hit a golf ball? If that was true, then all of a sudden, if this was number of feet, that 4 might represent 974 feet. Does that make sense? If that was true, I would have to say so in my key. I would have to say the key would be 975 feet equals 97/5. That tells you what we're talking about here. It doesn't 97.5. It's all of a sudden 975. What does this right here represent? Michael, what does that 6 represent? No. Oh, right. That's true. 986 in this situation. Absolutely right. Why is that true? Because that's what the key says. If the key was now what does that 6 represent? 98.6 degrees. You see the little symbol there? Degrees. You just look at the key to decide what it is. Let's do this. Let's try one. You guys can try this one. Or I'll do one for you, and then I'll give you one on your own. This will be the speeds of animals. I just go out there and look at a animal encyclopedia, and I'm going to choose the speeds of animals, and so I have one here that's 24, another one was 1, another one was 68, another one was 35, another one was 28, another one was 28, another one was 15, another one was 40. Here's the deal. Here's our data. I need to make a stem and leaf plot here. Stem and leaf plots look like this. Agreed? This is the speed of animals, right? What am I going to put over here? What's going to go over here? Numbers, yeah. It's going to be this. I'm going to put a 0, a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, a 5, a 6. Where does this one go, that 68? What do I do with that? Where do I put that? Where do I put it, Jerry? Yeah. That 8 represents 68. Where does the 35 go? What do I do with that? Do I put it like this? 35 like that? No. All I have to do is put a 5 because that 3 is the tens. Sit up, Emily. What about the 28? What do I do? A 2. I can put an 8 here. I have a 24. What do I do with that? What do I do with that, Donna?
I'm kind of confused. If how can you identify a 6.8 or 68? I know what is.
I'm telling you, it's 51. I choose the key. I write the key. Does that make sense? I'm the one who writes the key. You're going to be the one that has to write the key. If it tells you to make a key, to make a stem and leaf plot, you've got to put the key down. Make sense? What about this one? Where does the 1 go? Where does the 1 go, Caleb? After the 0. Right? This over here seems to be the 10s. Agreed? This is the 1s. Okay? What about this 28? I already have an 8 up there. Oh, there's supposed to be a 4 here. I already have an 8 up there. Do I have to put it again? Yes. You put it up there again. Another 8. Stop clicking. 15, where does that go? That goes right here. And a 40 goes right here. I have a question. Can you tell me the mode by looking at the stem and leaf plot? What's the mode? 28. How do you know? Forget this. If you couldn't look at this anymore, how do you know? How do you know, Emily? There's two 8s here. This 8, what's that 8 mean? 28. Right? What's this 0 mean? 40. Are you all following this now? Are you starting to see this, how it works? There's 2 8s here. That means there's 2 28s. Is there any other number that doubles, that repeats itself? No. So then the mode is 28. Are you all seeing that, Caleb? Are you seeing it? Okay. Could you give me the median with this information? Without this, forget this over here. Could you recreate? Could you give me the median based on this information? Yes. What would you do? Right. What you'd have to do is do them in order. What you can do is I would rewrite this right here. Let's rewrite those and make it a 4, 8, 8, so that they're in order. Oops. Can I go get rid of that, 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 and see that it's in between 28 and 28, which means that the median is 28, right? Another thing. What's an outlier again? Do you remember what an outlier is? What is an outlier? Somebody who hasn't answered yet. What's an outlier? Joy? Right. It's either way higher or way lower, and it messes everything up. You see an outlier here. Is there an outlier here? The 1, I would say maybe. I don't know that the 1 is an outlier. It looks like it's pretty close. You see how this is kind of a clump here? You see how they're all kind of clumped together? What's the outlier then? What's the outlier? 68. Right? He is going to, if I was to take an average here, that 68 is going to make this whole thing go way up. Does that make sense? The rest of it is kind of clumped together. He is all by himself. What animal is this? Probably cheetah, right? Cheetah. What animal is this? Probably a snail, an ant, a sloth, something like that, right? Okay. I'm going to combine 2 lessons here today. It wasn't part of the plan, but I'm going to combine 2. The second one, there isn't any homework for, really. I just want you to see it and learn. Here's the deal. I'm going to give you a bar graph, and I want you to tell me about the bar graph, okay? And I'm going to pick on some of you, so just, it's all right. You'll be okay. Is that how you spell read? If I was to show you this graph, what is this graph showing? Tell me about this graph. Just tell me some things about it. Somebody who hasn't done it, tell me about this graph. How many cars they've sold. Agreed. This is a graph showing how many cars that people have sold. How well did Jared do? How well did Jared do, Sladen? Maybe, but how well did he do? Look at this graph. How well did he do? Jonathan. Really good compared to the other people, right? I mean, like he did really good. How did Ellie do? She looks terrible. Don't you agree? Like it looks like, oh man, were you even working? Like, were you even trying? Do you agree that that's what this looks like? Well, what if I showed you this graph? What if I showed you this graph? And here's where it was at. me do this. Shh, 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 shh. How many cars did Jared sell? 418. How many cars did Ellie sell? 412. Was this a whole lot closer than it looked? You see what I'm saying? I mean, all of a sudden it looked like Ellie got destroyed. Like she was, I mean, like what are you even doing here? You're awful. Right? And yet, look how close it was. I mean, it came down to just a few, over the course of a year, it came down to just a few cars. She almost won. But see, if Jared was to go up to his boss and he was going to try and get a raise from somebody, I mean, he was going to say, listen, I need a raise. He might show this graph because it makes him look like he has killed everybody. Does that make sense? Where Ellie wouldn't want to show this graph because it makes her look like, why were you even here? You're fired. Even though she was right there. You see what I'm talking about? What they've done here with this graph, what they've done is that they took a graph that should look something like this. They took a graph that should look something like this. Who else did I have up there? And what would this graph really look like? It would look like this. That was not a very straight line. See, that's really what it looks like. So what did they do? Did Jared lie when he showed that graph? No, what he did is that it was almost like he took a little picture of just the top here. You know what I'm talking about? He just took a picture of that, and then he blew it up really big, and it made it look like Ellie got killed. Because he only took the very top of the graph. It wasn't a lie. It was just misleading. It made it look like Ellie was horrible, and it made it look like Jared was very good. When in fact, if you saw this right here, at a quick glance, you would say, well, they all tied. Right? I mean, they were all so close that it was a tie. And you'd be like, okay, well, which one of them should be fired? You'd say, well, none of them. They all did really good. They all sold over 400 cars. Does that make sense? It's misleading when you just take a picture of the top. Make sense? Does that make sense? What about this? What if I was to have a graph like this? No. We'll do this right here. What if I have this? Here's your Bible memory verse scores in Mr. M's class. Okay, this will be each and every one. You just think, pretend this is you. Here's your scores. There's your scores. What grade do you think you have with those scores? See, our score, we take and we use average, median, or mode when we give your scores to your parents. What do we take? We take the mean, which is the average, right? Let's do the average. That's 245, 265, 310, 330, 330 divided by 7 comes out to, well, it's a little less than a 50. So you have an F. Does that make sense? You have a straight F here. It's like a 47% or something. Horrible, right? If you had the option, what grade, what would you use to tell your parents how you're doing in Bible class? If you had your option, which of those mean, median, or mode would you use to tell your parents how you're doing in Bible class? Which one would you use?
I would probably use the
Right. You'd use the mode. Why would you use the mode? What's the mode? What's your mode? Yeah, you get 100 more often than you get any other score. So, Mom, my mode in Bible is 100. Oh, good job, Momo. Good job. Is that how well you're doing in the class? No. But the mode, I mean, you happen to be getting 100. That's the mode. So then, boom, you're going to tell your parents, I'm getting 100. Does that make sense? That's misleading. Agreed? The mode is not a very good indicator as to how well you're doing in school. Right? What about this? All right, so I'm going to put it up here now. Page 89 to 90. Numbers 2 through 3 all. Numbers 6 through 8 all. And numbers 17 through 21 all.